I think they keep trying too many things. But it goes back to when we talked about focus on the niches. When we start in this business, we try and do everything, right? We're trying to learn the business and we try to do everything. And then at some point, you learn that everything doesn't work and you start to dial it back into, okay, I'm really good at luxury or I'm really good at first time buyers. And you could find your niche within that, right? But if you keep focusing on all 12 versions of buyers that are available, you're never going to really connect with any one of them. And so you're just dabbling in a little bit of it. And so it's a matter of that. It's getting into the focus to be able to try and figure out how do I get really good at this one thing.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Why Do I Suck as a Real Estate Agent podcast, where you probably don't suck. You just need to tweak a few things. Today I got an awesome guest on, Christopher Brown. He is the principal and broker of the Next New Home Group in the Sacramento region. Getting a lot of California people on here, which I love it. Over 30 years of experience in real estate development, home building, new sales, marketing. Sounds like Chris has done it all. He's an industry speaker, national recognition, all the things. Even has a new book out called Get Out of the New Home Box. So I'm excited to hear a little bit about that. We'll talk about that today. But Chris, welcome to the podcast, man.
Monty, thanks for having me on. This is exciting. I love the theme. It is so applicable to what we do.
Isn't it crazy? And the way I came up with this, I had an agent a few years ago come up to me and I was doing well. She wasn't. And she goes, "Why do I suck at this?" And we had a really great heart to heart. And in reality, she's a great person and a really talented person. It's just, she was in a rut and not having the right behavior. So I was like,
Yep.
hey, let's roll with this. So I'm in the process of writing the book on it. And then I thought, why not do some market research and do some podcasts and interview people like yourself where I can learn? And I'm still very new in real estate. And in reality, I'm 7 years in, you got 30 years. So I got a lot of bandwidth to soak up before I get to the point where I'm in your shoes. I'm excited. How did you get into real estate, Chris?
So I actually started while I was still in college. I started as a sales assistant selling a condo conversion on the beach in Santa Barbara. So a really rough start to my career. And so I was working for a developer down there and kind of worked my way up through that developer into construction operations and ran their options program as they got into subdivision building. And then the land availability in Santa Barbara, as you can imagine, is not plentiful for a career in home building. So it was a choice of moving down to San Diego, where my wife is from. We were dating at the time, or coming back home to Sacramento. I grew up in Lake Tahoe, but went to high school here in Sacramento. And so it was a choice. And so we made the choice to come back here to Sacramento and started on in sales as a home builder with a home builder here. And then quickly moved through the ranks, moved through both public and private home builders. And here I am today, 31 years later with 3 companies in the home building space. And like I said, it's the only big boy job I've ever known. So when the downturn happened, what else was I going to do? Might as well keep going.
Yeah, no kidding. Just plow through it. It'll eventually come back. That's how this
Yeah,
works, right?
it's super
It's
fun.
cyclical. So just got to be able to hang on for those tough times. I love it. Yeah, so let's get into home building and focus on more of the new home stuff. I'm assuming that's where you thrive, but I'm sure you have a good idea on how all the other real estate sales go. You don't just accidentally make it 30 years without having to dabble in a bunch of other stuff. But how can agents realistically leverage new homes to grow their business today? I'm in Green Bay. California's in a different, where it's like things start out on the coast and then they move inward. So for us, for in the Midwest, we're going to be seeing probably what you're seeing here in the next year or two.
Yeah, home building, I think, is the secret sauce for so many agents. We have a resale division, we have our new home sales division, we have our construction division. So we get to kind of see every aspect of that. And I think so many agents miss out on the opportunity that new homes offers in every market across the country. New homes are sold differently across the country. And
Mhm.
so trying to figure out where that niche is within your local market. But I always recommend agents go do the milk run, go get to know the agents that are selling new homes in your market and be a resource for them, because it's such a lost revenue stream, because it's the new home deal is the easiest deal you will ever do in your life. Our agents take care of all of the paperwork. It's literally done. All you do is bring your favorite client in, be a hero for them, be a champion for the builder, and call it a day. It's the easiest deal you ever do, but there's always this contentious relationship between the two. But if you can't get through that, it's a huge opportunity. And
Yeah.
there's
So
so
where do you
many
think
deals
that gap? Where do you think that gap is for people that are in there? How do they break in, maybe more or less?
Yeah, so I always tell agents, especially on my resale side that are looking to bring buyers into new homes, is you're the milk run. And I call it a milk run is figure out where the new home communities are in your area. And whether that's in your immediate area or if you want to branch out and go past that, start getting to know those agents. Those agents are stuck in their box, in their sales office box 5 days a week. They do not get to run and roam and have the 2 hour lunches and all of these things that we dream of on the resale side, right? They
Right.
are stuck in that box. Go bring them Starbucks, saying, "Hey, I'm by your community. Can I bring you Starbucks?" And you start to build those relationships. And there's two things that come out of them. The first one is you get the inside track on, "Hey, this house just canceled. I've got a huge incentive. Do you have a buyer for me?"
Yeah.
Or, "Hey, I've got this new phase coming up. I've got somebody to bring you in." Or you also then can possibly get the referrals for the contingencies. And that's magic and just free referrals that are coming out of them. The other thing that for most new home communities, and it's different in every area, but a lot of these are run, especially on the public builder side, those agents can't receive compensation. And so there's not a referral fee that goes with that. It's building a relationship. So it's a different kind of thought process than we're all used to in the traditional model.
Yeah. So, what are some misconceptions that agents have about working with builders?
Honestly, I think one of our agents hit on it this last year is that I think a lot of agents are just fearful. And as going to your theme, why do I suck at this? I think a lot of agents are insecure about their knowledge and they
Yep.
don't understand a new home deal, which is very different. I always joke that we are really weird in the new home space. And there's fear, I think, that happens with a new home deal. If you are coming in and you're supposedly the expert for your client, but then you walk into a new home community, that new home agent is way smarter on that community than you are. And
Yep.
understanding and letting go and being willing to let go and come in as, like I said, a champion for your client and a champion for that builder. If you come in with that instead of the ego that is that protective ego that is so common with the resale world, if you
Yeah.
can come in and let that go and be a champion for those two people, you become the rock star.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the behaviors, and it's not necessarily about really it's confidence when we talk about fear, right? Because
Yeah.
we don't want to sound dumb when we go in and talk to somebody. And I don't know what I don't know. We were just talking about that before we got on here. I've been in 7 years, you've been in 30 years. I don't know what I don't know at this point. So how I got successful is I built my team of really like the first thing I did was reach out to one of my lenders who had been in the business for almost she's my age 46, so we went to college together. She'd been in the business for 20 years already when I started. She's been an amazing mentor to me, and then I connected with a title guy and he became a mentor to me, and I reach out to those people all the time. I don't care if I sound stupid at this point because I don't know. Like I'm vulnerable, right? When you go in and ask those questions, you go to a builder, and let's say you're brand new to the business. My suggestion, and I've worked with a few builders now, I just call them and go, "Hey, I don't understand this. I work in the resale world more than I work in the new construction world. Tell me a little bit about this and why is it this way?" And that you like to your point, it's building that relationship with that builder. Now they're like, "Oh, this guy's curious enough to actually ask a question. Guess who's going to get more referrals later on down the road too?"
And what plays in with that too is you start building those relationships and you start building relationships with the smaller builders. Those smaller builders are more likely, especially in markets like yours, you typically take the Midwest and some areas in the East Coast of how new homes are sold. There's an opportunity to be the quote listing agent, the new home agent for those smaller builders. And so you build these relationships, be the trusted advisor, be the one that is solving their problems and helping. That's just gold. That's gold.
Yeah, and that goes into my next point here is it's not like in the resale world unless we have a really strong referral base, then you get in with a builder, that's a really long-term opportunity. It's not really a side hustle at that point.
Nope. Yeah, it is a full tilt. When you get into the new homes, when you do the new home side from the sales side, it's a whole different animal. The process is different, the contracts are different, the expectations are different. But if you can get to that and do that milk run early, get to know it from the buyer side, then you start to understand it from the builder side. Then you start to get really good at that.
Yeah. And I think my next question goes into more or less focusing into one or two specializations, right? I think at first as an agent, I this is me personally, I think it's smart to dabble in a bunch of things and take anything that can come your way to make an income. But at some point, 5, 6, 7, 10 years down the road, whatever it is, you get into that point where you got to start specializing in something, I think, because you're just gonna end up with like where I'm at right now. Either you have to start a brokerage and have tentacles, or you're just going to end up working and being a slave to your business. And so, what's unique about, or why does specialization matter in your world?
Everybody always says the riches are in the niches. And I think that's so important in this business. And there are so many paths that you can follow in real estate. You can go into commercial, you can go into land. There's just so many ways to do it. And new homes is one of those specializations. And it is a special experience that you have to really understand how different it is. It is not coming in and listing a subdivision. You just don't, it's not that process. What we see as failures, and we're actually working on right now, we're about to take over the remainder of the last 60 lots of project because the builder was a smaller builder and had made the mistake of hiring a friend of the builder as it's a resale agent trying to sell the subdivision. And they did what a resale agent understands, which is, oh, great, this is an opportunity that I can give to my team, and I just have a rotating group through my subdivision. Now the builder's feeling that pain because he doesn't feel like he's getting the attention and he's getting the specificity of having a dedicated agent. And so if you can change that mindset to go, okay, I need to be the dedicated person, or there needs to be a dedicated person. And that's where we fit in. Like for our brokerage and our different operations, I have three agent types. I have resale only, I have new home only, and then I have hybrids that are guys that are experienced in new homes that can bounce into these smaller subdivisions that aren't necessarily a full-time project. So there's some niches that we were able to do in specialization. And I think that's what's so critical is that for an agent to be successful, find your niche. Whether that's I'm going to focus on a certain community, I'm going to focus on a certain price point, or I'm going to focus on new homes or any of the other things. Focus. And we talk about this all the time is that agents lose focus. Oh, I bought leads and I did this and I did this. I mean, you tell them to do it all that and all you ended up with is nothing. But
Yeah,
you're exhausted. And that didn't get you
exactly.
anywhere. But if you focus on this one thing, maybe two things, get
Right.
really good at that. Then you can add that second or third thing to get those multiple revenue streams.
Yeah, 100%. I think that's interesting you brought that up. The last part was it all comes back down to two things. One, are you passionate about? And then two, building relationships, right? This business isn't that hard. Like it really isn't. It is at first because you got to build it, but it's just like any other business, really. There's not like a business that just all of a sudden starts turning out hundreds of thousands of dollars. Finding something you're passionate about, going down that specialization. Don't just specialize in something if you hate it. That doesn't make sense. And
Yeah.
then build the relationships within that to build your team that you actually enjoy going to work and working with the people that are not just inside of the, say, your real estate brokerage, but you enjoy the builders, you enjoy the subcontractors, you enjoy the lenders and the title and the whole everybody that comes together because these things end up moving more smoothly that way.
Yeah. So I've always loved about new homes is that I've always been on the builder side, and my entire career is builder side. Our resale division is our smallest of all of our companies, and but I'm loving learning about that space right now, what you guys do, and that's been so much fun. But I love building homes. I love the construction process. I love the subdivision side. It's just so much fun, and just getting we're the one of the last things that's hand built in this country. And that's such a cool thing. And for agents, you get into this business because you like people and you like the deals. And there's so many of those things that this is fun. Go back to enjoying doing your job. We all
Yeah.
kind of got beat up a little bit last year, but there you go. This is still a fun job. It's still cool people to work with.
Yeah, 100%. Now, within that, I mean, you're in that business of builders. How, like, we just went through this with our team the other day. How important is time blocking? Like, like, I can only imagine because now if you have an agent that's specializing in say, building, you're dealing with the builder, but then you're dealing with the contractors, and then you're dealing with timelines and lenders, and then you still need to find buyers for those builders. So, how important is that? And like, how does that create a shift in somebody's performance?
Yeah, time blocking is critical for who, I don't care who you are. I am a massive advocate of time blocking. If I could show my calendar, you would see how my day is blocked and my week is blocked.
What are you using for it? Just like a Google Calendar for time blocking?
Yeah,
You just
just live in Google Calendar. And then but my entire staff has access to see my calendar. So they can know where time slots are available. So they can just slot stuff in onto that calendar. I do that for recruiting. My recruiting team has their own version of it and they can see where the slots are available. And we do that for business development. That's just the only way I can survive. I have so many things going in so many different directions, and that's the only way I can survive. And I do this with our new home team especially because sales is a very small part of what new home salespeople do. the sales part is this probably 15 to 20% of what they do. And the rest of it is the business. And it's managing your backlog. It's reselling that same house to that same person probably 12 to 15 times over the 6 months that we're building the house. It's coordinating with your superintendent on the site to understand what's going on with schedules. It's coordinating with the design center to make sure you've got option selections. It's coordinating with the lender. It's coordinating with escrow, making sure that all of these puzzle pieces that all fit together to eventually get this home to not only completion, but closing. That's all of the business. And if you don't time block, the chaos will ensue. And if you time block it out and go, okay, these 3 time blocks today are prospecting. These 2 are for my lender follow up. These are meetings, and you can just step through, and then you know that Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and typically or the first half of Monday is sales time. That's where you're really focused. The middle of the week is your business time, and you start to learn where that is. The other thing that I've learned that is critical for time blocking is know how your body works, understand how your mind works. So, like for me, I block out my creative time first thing in the morning. And so I'm here first thing before anybody else gets here, usually by a couple of hours. And that's my creative time because I know how my brain works. Is I cannot be creative at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So 3 o'clock in the afternoon is the task that I don't want to do that you just got to get off the list. So that's why I learn the time block is also how I actually work and learning that.
I love it. Now we're into 2026 now, and AI has kind of been around now for a year and a half, 2 years, where I really feel like we've all felt it, right? And you can, like, anytime you go on social media, you can tell every single article, every single post now is a chat GPT kind of thing. The M dashes are in there, all the emojis, all that stuff. It was cute at first, but now to me, it's like almost disingenuous. But getting into AI, obviously AI is going to serve a huge part of our life. How are you guys incorporating that into your business at this point?
Yeah, we live in AI daily. We use it as an iterative and a creative process for because we have an in-house ad agency that we run for all of our builders. We do that from the iterative and creative standpoint, and we start working through that on a pretty easy basis to be able to build those things out. Then we're also using it at a much higher level with software development. And so we're taking some of the software that's available via AI and then building that into a much bigger thing that's going to eventually give us some reporting, and it's going to give us a whole bunch of tools in the future. So there's a lot of layers that we're doing it. We're also using stuff like Notebook LM to do systemization and documentation of processes. So that one of the big places that I'm writing a new book right now that's coming out in September. That is all about, it's called Permission to Unplug. So it's all about how do you as a leader learn to step away from your business and how stepping away makes you a better leader. And so one of the things I'm working on is try to be replaceable. How do I replace myself in business? And we're using AI to be able to do that. How do we document processes? How do we then share that information across to everybody? And for the agent side, you can use it for creative. You can use it for structure. You can use it for, hey, act as a real estate expert in this area. This is what I do. How do I create a marketing plan for the next 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, and start building that out? And you can really start getting better and use it as an enhancement. It's not a replacement.
Yeah, I love it. And the one thing I mean, I've only met you now for 20 minutes, but the one thing I love is you're just trying to provide value for as many people out there. So what inspired you to get into the author of the Get Out of the New Home Box? What was that about?
Yeah, that was really about, there's so much of an opportunity. So part of it is fairly selfish there's a recruiting book for us. And
Sure.
it started with just the concept of there are so many, especially in our market, tons of new home agents. And again, I've been in this business forever, so I know a lot of them. And but there's an opportunity for a new home agent, and we're seeing a lot of burnout within new home agents right now, and they're exhausted. And because, especially with corporate builders and publicly traded builders, the compensation structure has completely changed. The demands are totally different. It's a different animal than when I first got in the business. And so there's an opportunity for those agents to then go out which they never realized. And I never realized this as a new home builder, that we could go to the other side and sell as we call them, the used homes. And we could come out so the entire book is the structure of how do you change from a new home agent where you've sold 5, 10, 15 years in new homes Go out and farm all of your old communities, and it's gold. We always struggle, agent, when you come into the market. Where's my book of business? How do I get a book of business? That's hard. And
Yep.
new home agents already have this giant book of business they don't even realize that they have. That's what the book was about, is giving that light to say, hey, you have an opportunity to own the world and have a phenomenal resale career and get time back, get an occasional weekend back that you don't get in new homes, and
Mm.
create a book of business for people that already love you. It's a great way to go.
Yeah. So where do agents get stuck repeating those same behaviors? Like you mentioned a whole bunch of things there. You get the time back, which I think is the big thing where that leads to burnout, right? Because we can overwork ourselves and like meaningless tasks as well and other things like that. But why do agents get stuck repeating those same behaviors?
I think they keep trying too many things. But it goes back to when we talked about focus on the niches.
Yep.
When we start in this business, we try and do everything, right? We're trying to learn the business and we try to do everything. And then at some point, you learn that everything doesn't work and you start to dial it back into, okay, I'm really good at luxury or I'm really good at first time buyers. And you could find your niche within that, right?
Yep.
But if you keep focusing on all 12 versions of buyers that are available, you're never going to really connect with any one of them. And so you're just dabbling in a little bit of it. And so it's a matter of that. It's getting into the focus to be able to try and figure out, how do I get really good at this one thing? And I think we all get burned out because we try and do too many things and we get exhausted. I think that's
Yep.
where it can come in and make you better. It allows you to get focused and it allows you to help you learn where that focus is and where your niche is.
Yeah. So how do agents reposition themselves as value add partners then? Because that is really what you're getting at there, is to dial it into one area. It doesn't necessarily have to be new home, but it could be really any of the areas of real estate.
Yeah, I think we get locked into, oh, I can sell anything. And I think that's where a lot of agents lose. And there is a huge tendency in this industry that it's very me. And the me thing is where you lose. And I think that's where we lost our way as an industry, is that all we posted on social media is just listed and just sold.
Yep.
And those two things aren't building value. These are, how about posting, here's the 12 things that I went through for this client that they didn't even know about.
Yeah.
We start talking about those things behind the scenes, and that's where your value is. We've talked about commissions and compression and all of these things that have happened, and it's trying to drive down because we've got so many amateurs that are in the business.
Yeah.
Be a real estate professional. And if you stop calling yourself a realtor and start calling yourself a real estate professional, it changes your mindset. And I
Yeah.
think if you look at it from that perspective and start being a professional builds value. Professional isn't there for a commission. The professional is to build something bigger for the client. They're getting them from where they are to where they want to be. And that's the goal.
There it is right there. I'm taking that little nugget right there and applying that to my team right after I get off this podcast, because that's actually a great mind shift and it's so simple, right? Like it just, you hold yourself to a different level of standard in
Yeah.
that. And I think the other thing too is we do a lot of that stuff within our brokerage, the accepted offers and the listing things. And I think those are important. People want to see that you're moving houses, but
Yeah.
the providing the extra value, and that's a big thing that we talk about on this podcast, is provide value, expect nothing in return, and you're going to get it back tenfold typically when you're doing it. You just don't know where it's come from. So if you go in with the entitled mindset of, oh, I did this one time and then I should be getting business, it never happens. But if you go into it with, hey, I'm just going to provide all this value, see what happens, and hopefully somebody gets something out of it, and maybe I helped one person, generally it helped a lot of people with that mindset.
Yeah. If you start the phone call with, how can I help? And just stop talking.
Yeah.
That if you can change that
Yep.
only thing, you're on your way.
Yep. That's interesting you say it. We had somebody call in this morning and into our thing, and they had it was basically a realtor.com. They saw it on there, and realtors, like the way that it is, the house has been under contract for 3 weeks already, but they still assumed that it was available. So I just went in there and I coached her up on what to look for on realtor.com. I said, let me pull it up. Give me a second, blah, blah, blah. Then she started talking. She's, oh, I'm from about an hour away and I'm not working with a buyer or an agent right now in your area. I'm like, great. I have a whole bunch of buyer agents in my office. And then somebody right down the hall, I just went and handed the phone. I said, here you go. So I'm like, she's looking for a new one. She's wrapping up with all of her other ones. So like
Love it.
little things like that of just listening and then not just saying, oh, this house is under contract. Click. That's what most agents are going to do. And I've seen it. Instead,
Yeah.
I went there and I said, hey, let me show you what to look for so you don't make this mistake again and you're not wasting your time. And just by doing that, we converted her into a buyer.
So, Monty, the one big thing that you did differently than probably 80+% of agents is you answered the phone.
Yeah, that
And I
too.
think
Yeah,
that's the scariest thing that drives me batty is the
yeah,
lack of willingness to talk to people.
yeah.
Everybody wants to just do a deal over text. I'm like, you
Yep.
can't solve the world's problems. You can't hear, the tone. You can't hear the intent with them. Like, let's start having a conversation. Even when another agent is calling you to get an update or an
Yep.
update on something that is already in contract, how about just have a conversation with them? Hey, let's work together on something else. But when you are either don't answer or you're hurt when you typically do answer, that's really frustrating in this business. Again,
Yeah.
go be a professional, not a realtor.
I love it. And I think the other thing too is we're getting past like if you look at anybody's phone on a text message, like me, I personally can't handle notifications. Like they got to be accounted for and done
Fire
and
off.
they're gone. I see some people who have thousands of unanswered text messages and I'm like, holy crap, how are we, how is this how are you working in this business? How are you not responding to one of these things or even reading it? And they're like, I can just read the beginning part and know what I'm seeing. I'm like, okay, but that person sent you a text, respond. Like, you don't know if there's another layer to that text message or people don't answer it because now you can read voicemails and it shows up in your text box. And so I think we're in the spot of this world where I'm seeing this like little hinge. And I learned this from another very good real estate coach recently. And we're seeing this like change where people are answering and talking on phones and because they're sick of texting and they're sick of emails. We get, especially with AI, how many emails do we get a day? Like how I got you on the podcast, I'm not sure because I get asked to be on a podcast about 10 times a day. And then on the very bottom, it says something with .ai. And I'm like, they don't even know who I am. So I'm fortunate to get you on today. But that's the reality of our world is going back to that social communication. And even like handwritten letters are going a lot further. One of my agents who's 28 years old yesterday said, I love getting mail. I'm like, really? I'm like, cool. That's good to know. Let's get maybe back to that. So things like that are going to be huge, I think, in 2026 and beyond because AI is going to do all the tech stuff for us, I think.
It's funny you talked about the handwritten notes. One of my commitments this year is that I'm going to write the other agent, whether that's an agent that brought somebody into one of our new home communities or did a deal with one of our agents on the resale side. I'm writing all of them notes this year.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to figure out a way to do it because my handwriting is god awful. And so for me to handwrite a note probably makes it much worse. So I'm trying to look at all of the other technology tools to make it look handwritten, but it's still a personal my note, but without my horrible handwriting.
What you could do is just go get an old typewriter and do that all over again.
Exactly. So I've made that commitment that I want to do that because I want to do two things on it. One, I want to say thank you in a genuine way to people in this business for the ones
Yeah,
that are professional. The ones that aren't professional, you can go work for somebody else.
right.
But the ones that are professional, I want to say thank you for being a professional. And then the second piece of that is that quiet recruiting that comes in there as a broker in the market trying to grow a resale division. Is that if I'm the guy that is personally reaching out and trying to connect with people, purely from a genuine way, is that just saying thank you for working with us instead of against us. Like
Yeah.
I just want to celebrate the professionals, and that's one way that I've committed to this year is doing.
Yeah, and that's something I've done, and then I got busy and I stopped doing it, and it's something I've thought about going back to. So I think another great little nugget for me today that I got out of you is, yeah, I'm gonna go back to that too. So I think there's nothing better than showing somebody appreciation anyway, and
Yep.
we all work in this business together. It's the other side note of that too is let's say you're up against them and another agent later on down the road and you've worked and you've had a great experience with them. That's the tiebreaker, right? Let's say the offer is exactly the same. I worked with Chris on another deal before. I really like working with him. I'm going to sell that to my client versus this other person who figured out a way to wiggle out of a deal and didn't handle it professionally or something like that.
Yep.
So
It's all
awesome
about
stuff.
building bonds and building relationships.
Yep. Chris, as we wrap up here, man, this has been awesome. How, as I always do, end the show this way, for people that are stuck in a rut who think they suck, we know they don't, but they think they suck at this point, or they're amateurs and they're just not knowing what to do next. What's the best piece of advice you can give them? Just like one little tidbit as we end the show.
Honestly, ask AI. Here's what I do. What's my one thing to focus in on, and just focus on one thing this quarter. That's it. One thing. And don't do all the other things. and get really good.
Love it. Love it. Very good. Chris, where can they find your book? Get out of the new home box. Where can they find that book?
Yeah, you can find everything about us at next.cool, which is our site for all of our companies. You can find me personally on Instagram at Life's About Experiences, not Things. And all of our other Instagrams are on there. And you can find us all over at Next New Homes and Next Real Estate Group.
Love it. Guys, that was Christopher Brown here on the Why Do I Suck as a Real Estate Agent podcast. Chris, thanks so much for coming on. I appreciate it. And congratulations to all your success, all your businesses, and I appreciate all the value you brought today.
All right. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Yep. See ya.
Bye-bye.
So that's a wrap here on the Why Do I Suck as a Real Estate Agent podcast. Thank you so much for spending time with me and our guests. The people you hear on this show really aren't guessing. They've been doing the work. They've been doing it for a long time. They're sharing their behaviors, their habits, their successes, their systems that actually lead to real work, real success. So please subscribe and follow so you don't miss the next conversation. Until next time, remember, you don't suck. You're learning. It's the beginning, or maybe you're in a rut, but you don't suck. So make a few changes, stay curious, stay consistent, and please keep coming back.